Hey siblings, Warren here. You're welcome to my YouTube channel. Here I share videos about spirituality, about personal development and living intentionally. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. If this is your very first time, thank you for joining the Intentional Siblings community. Do drop a comment. Let me know where you're joining us from. So one question I get asked often is, Maureen, at what point did your life begin to change, right? So this is just us having conversations. I'm just going to walk you through some of the things that I did that helped me or that is helping me on my journey to becoming the person that I am today. First thing I did was to do a self-assessment, to really ask myself if the life I was living then and the outcomes I was experiencing were the kind of outcomes I wanted to experience long term. And of course my answer was no, because by the time I evaluated my life and I saw the things happening, I was not excited one bit about it, and I knew that in order for me to live a different kind of life, I had to pause and evaluate my every action. Of course, after assessment, the next thing I had to do was to tell myself the truth. The truth, yes, was bitter at that point. The truth was heavy for who I was, but it wasn't too heavy to bet the person that I wanted to be. I had to remind myself that I'm not just going to keep blaming people for the outcomes of my life, that I have to become a part of it. I had to contribute, right, to betting the kind of life I wanted to have, and that I actually did play a role in the outcomes that I was experiencing that were not sweet, that were not interesting, right? So of course, after telling myself the truth, the next question I asked myself was, okay, Maureen, now what do you want? You know you do not want this life. You know that these are the things that are happening that you do not enjoy. What exactly do you want? I began to realize that a lot of times we just know what we do not want, but we have not really been able to capture what we actually do want. And if you do not know what you want, you're actually not going to get it. You're going to keep getting those things to say you do not want. So it was important for me as a person to ask myself, so Maureen, what do you want? And it doesn't end at me asking myself that question. I then had to provide the answer. I had to tell myself, okay, this is what I want, this is how I wanted my life to be, and these are the different kind of outcomes I wanted to experience. And in fact, I went down to knowing the different areas of my life that I was going to develop and how I wanted those areas of my life to be, right? So for you also, you can ask yourself, okay, what do you want? It's important for you to ask that question and for you to write down the answers. After that, the next thing I needed to do was to know what I needed to do in order to bet or to create that life that I said I wanted. I knew that the life was not going to come overnight. I knew the life was not going to happen overnight. I knew it was also not going to fall on my laps. Of course, it calls for responsibility. I knew that I had some contribution to make. I knew that I had to become responsible for the outcomes of my life I wanted to enjoy. So it was also very important for me to know what I needed to do in order to contribute to bettering that version of myself. And of course, that began with me knowing what to change. I had to change my language, the way I spoke, the kind of words that came out of my mouth, the words I used to describe myself, the words I used to describe my life. I had to change that. I had to upgrade my vocabulary. Of course, in order to do that, I had to start reading. I had to start developing myself mentally. I had to start developing myself in every area. I started watching videos. I started reading books that had to do with areas of my life that I needed to develop. I also began to pay attention to people whose life I admired, so I could learn one or two things from their lives. Okay, and another question I had to ask myself is, who do I need to become in order to do those things that I wanted to do? And I think this had to be the hardest part of that entire process, because it meant I had to shed some part of me that I knew were not going to contribute to the higher and the future version of myself I wanted to birth. So that meant me recognizing all of the life experience I've had to survive. That also meant me having to forgive a lot of people. It also meant me having to forgive myself for the role I played and how I contributed to the outcomes of my life. It also meant at some point that I had to say bye-bye to a lot of people who were coming into my life, right? Like, it just felt like I had to become an adult. I had to become very responsible for my life, and there were a lot of things that were no longer worthy of me as a person. And that was one of the highest, that was not highest per se, that was one of the profound truths that I arrived at, knowing that not everything in life is worthy of me as a person. And before I could open my mouth to say, okay, this thing is not worthy of me, I had to intentionally really get to know who I was and what I was worth. And of course, that journey was not complete if I hadn't gone into scriptures to study who God was and also get to know who God said I was. So these are some of the things I did. These are some of the things that I had to pay attention to in order to change my life, in order to birth this version of my life I am seeing now. So I hope this video has benefited you. I didn't want it to be so long. I hope this short video is going to help you on your journey to developing yourself and on your journey to becoming the best and the highest version of yourself. So that is Mr. Oluwatobi. He does this every once in a while when I'm recording videos. I'm actually not going to edit this part of the video. I'm going to include it in the video, and you guys should see what I have to deal with every day. Yeah, so if you have questions, do ask the questions in the comment section and I'm going to attend to them. But remember, it's my goal and my desire to see you become the best and the highest version of yourself, and anything I can do to contribute, I'm actually going to do it. So in the description box, I'm going to put the link to one of my books that would help you on your journey to overcoming low self-esteem, on your journey to regaining your self-worth, and of course silencing the critical inner voices that live in your head. Have a beautiful day, darlings. I love you.